Everyone has already decided how this match is supposed to go. The hot young star against the fading veteran. The 21-year-old who can't seem to lose against the 29-year-old who is supposedly running out of energy. And honestly, I understand why people see it that way. Alex has just won her first WTA title in Washington. Then she somehow dragged herself through another brutal 3-set battle against Katie McNally, even with her ankle heavily wrapped and clearly bothering her. 7 straight victories. Momentum on her side. Confidence through the roof. It sounds like the perfect formula for another Alex win. But there is one problem with that story. We've seen this exact storyline before, and the ending was completely different from what everyone expected. Go back to 2009. Kim Clijsters had been away from Grand Slam tennis for more than 2 years. She had become a mother, stepped away from the tour, and returned to the US Open as an unseeded wild card. She wasn't even supposed to be part of the championship conversation. She was there because she wanted to compete again. And then something incredible happened. Clijsters started beating everyone. She took down Venus Williams. Then came Serena Williams. Then she walked away with the US Open trophy. The tennis world had assumed that the long layoff and motherhood would make her vulnerable. Instead, the break seemed to give her something completely different. Freshness, perspective, freedom. It was less of a decline, and more like someone had pressed a reset button. And that is exactly why I keep thinking about Clijsters when I look at what Belinda Bencic has accomplished since returning from maternity leave. Because if you judged her only by the numbers at the beginning, there was nothing glamorous about the comeback. She returned to the tour unranked. Not number 200, not number 300, unranked. The rankings computer had nothing beside her name. By January 2025, she was still outside the world's top 400. And then she started climbing. Month after month, tournament after tournament, Bencic kept putting pieces of her old game back together while building something new at the same time. 12 months later, she had risen all the way to number 11 in the world. She had won titles in Abu Dhabi and Tokyo, and she had reached her first Wimbledon semifinal since 2019. That isn't a nostalgia tour. That's a serious comeback. A disciplined one. A comeback that deserves far more respect than the phrase fading veteran would suggest. So when people look at this matchup and automatically give Alex the advantage because of age, momentum, or the physical toll of the previous round, I think they're missing something. Bencic has already destroyed the idea that a comeback after maternity leave has to follow a predictable decline. She has already shown that experience doesn't disappear just because a player steps away from the tour. And now, she gets to test that experience against one of the most dangerous young players in the world on a Toronto hardcourt. But before we decide who has the advantage, we need to look at how both women actually arrived here. Because the surface-level statistics don't tell the full story. Bencic's previous match was an absolute war. She needed 3 hours and 24 minutes to get past Taylor Townsend, winning 6-7, 7-6, 6-4. 2 tiebreaks. A first-set tiebreak that she lost. And then another one that she had to win just to stay alive in the match. That kind of tennis drains you in a completely different way. Townsend is not an opponent who lets you settle into a comfortable rhythm. She's a left-hander who can slice, change pace, redirect the ball, and constantly make you question where the next shot is coming from. Bencic had to solve that puzzle for more than 3 hours. And she had to solve it while knowing that one bad stretch could send her home. Matches like that don't simply exhaust your legs. They test your concentration. They test your ability to keep making clean decisions when your body is starting to slow down. You don't always see fatigue through the speed of the shots. Sometimes the first sign is much smaller. A player arrives just half a step late. A normally clean strike becomes slightly rushed. A recovery takes an extra fraction of a second. And against someone like Alex, those tiny differences can become enormous. But here's where the matchup gets interesting. Alex's previous round wasn't exactly an easy night either. Against McNally, she found herself in trouble early, trailing 1-3 before changing the direction of the set. Instead of panicking, Alex found her rhythm and won 5 of the next 6 games to steal the opening set. That comeback required its own kind of toughness. She had to stay composed while dealing with an opponent who had already beaten a Wimbledon champion in the previous round. Then came the physical battle. The ankle was wrapped heavily. The match stretched into 3 sets, and Alex still found a way to finish it. So while the headlines say 7 straight wins, the reality is more complicated. Both players have been tested. Both have had to survive uncomfortable moments. Both have already shown that they can win when the match isn't going according to plan. And that is why this matchup could be much closer than the age difference suggests. Alex has the momentum, the confidence, and the belief that comes from winning her first WTA title. But Bencic has something equally valuable. She has been through these moments before. She knows what it feels like to play deep into major tournaments. She knows how to construct points under pressure. She knows how to make an opponent uncomfortable without necessarily overpowering them. And perhaps most importantly, she knows what it takes to rebuild a career from almost nothing. There's another layer to this match too. Alex is coming in with expectations now. That's different from Washington. Before that title run, she could surprise people. She could play freely. Nobody expected her to win the whole thing. Now everyone knows what she's capable of. Every opponent studies her differently. Every round comes with more attention, and that can change the psychology of a match. Bencic doesn't have to convince anyone that she's supposed to win. Alex does. That's why this isn't simply youth versus experience. It's confidence versus experience. Momentum versus resilience. A player trying to continue an incredible winning streak against a player who has already proved that she can rebuild herself after the biggest interruption of her career. And if the history of tennis has taught us anything, it's that writing off an experienced champion is one of the easiest ways to get punished. Kim Clijsters showed that in 2009. Bencic has already shown her own version of it during this comeback. Now Alex gets the chance to answer it herself. She has already survived the pressure of a packed Toronto crowd. She has already played through physical discomfort. She has already beaten an opponent who entered the match with nothing to lose. But Bencic is a different problem. She won't need to overpower Alex to beat her. She can make the young star work for every point, change the pace, absorb pressure, and wait for Alex to get impatient. And that could be the real battle. Can Alex stay patient when the match doesn't move at the speed she wants? Can she protect that injured ankle while still moving aggressively enough to control the baseline? Can she keep the 7-match winning streak alive when the opponent across the net has already proven that age doesn't tell the whole story? Because that's what makes this match so fascinating. Everyone wants to call it the next chapter of Alex's dream run. Maybe it is. But Bencic isn't interested in playing the role of the veteran who is simply waiting to be defeated. She has spent the last year rebuilding her career, one victory at a time. She knows what it feels like to be counted out. She knows what it feels like when people assume the best part of your career is already behind you. And now, she has a chance to remind everyone why she was once one of the most dangerous players in the world. Alex may be the hotter player. She may have the bigger momentum. She may have 7 straight victories behind her. But if there's one thing Bencic's comeback has taught us, it's that experience can become dangerous when a player has nothing left to prove. And that is why I wouldn't be so quick to call this match before it starts. Because maybe the real question isn't whether Alex can continue her winning streak. Maybe it's whether she can stop Belinda Bencic from turning this into another comeback story nobody saw coming. Then, just when Alex looked like she had the match under control, everything changed. At 3-2 in the second set, she rolled her ankle and immediately needed a medical timeout. For a player who had already been pushed physically throughout the tournament, that could have been the moment everything fell apart. But McNally saw the opening and did exactly what an experienced competitor is supposed to do. She attacked. She pushed Alex into a deciding set, and suddenly the match became about much more than tennis. Alex had to deal with pain while simultaneously figuring out how to solve a completely different tactical problem. And somehow she managed both. She closed the match 6-3, 5-7, 6-4. That matters because the physical test Alex faced wasn't the same one Bencic had just survived. Belinda had endured a marathon. Alex had to compartmentalize a sudden injury in the middle of a match and keep competing as if nothing had happened. Those are two very different forms of pressure. And that's where I think the entire fatigue conversation needs to be turned upside down. Everyone is looking at Bencic's 3-hour and 24-minute battle against Townsend and assuming the obvious question is whether her legs will have enough left. But maybe that's the wrong question, because that match wasn't simply long. It was brutally close. 2 tiebreaks, constant pressure, long exchanges, and Bencic still found a way to win the biggest points when her body had every reason to start giving in. A player who is truly running out of gas doesn't usually find another gear deep into a second tiebreak. Bencic did. She didn't just survive Townsend's style. She managed to outplay it when the pressure was at its highest. That isn't necessarily a warning sign. It could actually be evidence of something much more dangerous: composure. So instead of asking whether Bencic can physically survive another match, perhaps the more important question is whether Alex's ankle can hold up against a player who has just shown she can stay calm when everything gets tight. And that brings us to the part of this matchup that makes it genuinely fascinating. Because these two don't simply bring different resumes into the match. They bring completely different styles. Bencic likes to take the ball early. Really early. She steps inside the court, meets the ball on the rise, and uses compact swings to redirect pace before her opponent has time to recover. Her backhand can flatten out and go straight down the line, turning defense into offense almost instantly. She isn't trying to generate endless spin and wait for an opening. Her whole philosophy is about taking time away. And that can be incredibly uncomfortable for someone who prefers to build points from the baseline. Alex, meanwhile, brings a different kind of pressure. Her forehand carries heavy topspin and jumps off the court, forcing opponents to deal with a ball that keeps rising after the bounce. That spin gives her control and creates space. Against players who prefer a conventional baseline exchange, it can be extremely effective because Alex can push them backward and then reset the point on her terms. But Bencic isn't necessarily going to let her have that rhythm. She's looking to step forward and strike before Alex's heavy spin has time to push her out of position. Think of it almost like two different boxing styles. One fighter wants to create distance, establish a rhythm, and set up the big shot. The other wants to get inside that rhythm and counter before the punch has fully developed. That's the geometry of this matchup. And there is one area where I think Alex could have a particularly important advantage: the return. Throughout this tournament, she has shown a willingness to stand aggressively on second serves rather than automatically retreating behind the baseline. She's trying to take time away from the server immediately. That's a dangerous strategy against someone like Bencic, especially after the veteran has already spent more than 3 hours on court. Every service game could become a physical test. Bencic can't afford to casually settle into rallies. She needs to protect her serve from the opening point because Alex is capable of turning a slightly weak second ball into an attacking opportunity before the rally even begins. And if Alex is stepping forward and taking those second serves early, she's doing more than trying to win individual points. She's forcing Bencic to work. She's making every service game more expensive. She's asking a player who just survived a marathon whether she really wants another long night. That's why I don't see this as some simple coin flip matchup. It's competitive, absolutely. Bencic has the experience. She has the composure. She has an early strike game specifically designed to disrupt rhythm. And she has already shown that the comeback isn't some feel-good story that will disappear when the competition gets tougher. But Alex has something Bencic doesn't right now: an incredible wave of momentum. She hasn't lost since Washington. She's playing with the confidence of a player who has finally discovered that she belongs in these matches. And every time she gets pushed, she seems to find another response. The ankle is the obvious question mark. We can't ignore it. She rolled it during the McNally match, needed treatment, and still finished the job. But the real test will come when she has to make repeated explosive movements against a player who is going to attack her timing. Can she move freely? Can she defend wide balls without hesitation? Can she plant and change direction without thinking about the injury? Those are the questions that could decide everything. And then there's the bigger picture. Alex is seeded 25th in Toronto, and every round she survives from here represents new territory in this WTA 1000 event. She has already gone deeper than many expected. A victory here wouldn't just extend the winning streak to 8 matches. It would push her further into one of the biggest tournaments of her season and strengthen the argument that her Washington title was not a one-week miracle. It was the beginning of something much bigger. That's why I would watch the first few return games extremely closely. Forget the final score for a moment. Watch where Alex stands when Bencic serves her second ball. If she's taking that return